Welcome back to From Post to Power. We explore all the intersections of wellness, self expression, and the journeys that shape us. I'm your host, Tyla, and today's guest brings an incredible fusion of mindfulness, entrepreneurship, and inner strength. Our mission here is to share stories of transformation, the kind that happen when we integrate wellness, modeling, and mindfulness into our lives. Today, we're joined by Danielle, a functional nutritionist, chronic illness coach, and author whose incredible journey through thyroid cancer, Lyme disease, and COVID has inspired countless people around the world. Danielle, thank you so much for being here today. For our
Thank you for.
listeners who may not know you yet, how would you describe what you do and what first inspired your path into holistic wellness?
So my profession and my credentials. I'm a clinical nutritionist. I've been in practice for about 20 years, and for a long time I was doing that. I taught yoga for many years. I have a lot of certifications in different holistic modalities,
Yeah.
and for a long period of time I used to work with particularly women who wanted to get in shape. I live in New York City. I worked with a lot of models. I worked with people who were looking more at the aesthetic view of their health. And
Mm,
then I ended up going through my own health challenges, like you mentioned, the thyroid cancer, the Lyme
yeah.
disease, followed by long
Yeah.
COVID. And it shifted my focus to now working a lot with the chronic illness community, not only through nutrition, but fusing different modalities that help them to downregulate the nervous system, become more grounded in their bodies so they can heal.
That's a beautiful foundation. I know you started exploring mindfulness and shamanic practices when you were just 11, inspired by your mom. How did
Yes.
that early exposure shape the way you see healing today?
I think it completely changed or directed the course of what I decided to do professionally. My mother was really sick with cancer when she was younger, and unfortunately, she didn't end up making it. But she did practice visualization, meditation. She followed a macrobiotic diet, used homeopathic remedies, and she left me with all of these books that were like manuals that I ended up getting when I was 13 years old. And I started to incorporate that into what I decided to do with my life. So I always had this healing background. And then I now approach my clients as not only a practitioner, but I've also been the patient. So I can see it through the lens of both
Mm,
sides. So I have a lot of empathy for what people are going through.
yeah. And after losing your mom so young, what kept you connected to those spiritual or mind body practices as you grew into your career?
I've always had a lot of spirituality, and I have a strong faith in God and believe that everything happens for a reason, and our
Yeah.
souls here are here to teach us a lesson. And I knew that this was part of my journey. I think we choose our path before we incarnate into this body. And I felt
Mm,
like this is what I chose. And I knew I wanted to be in the healing world after what she went through. I didn't want anyone else to suffer. And I ended up suffering, and I understand what that suffering is. So I think
yeah.
that's what really directed me to do what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And you faced multiple significant health challenges like thyroid cancer, Lyme disease, and COVID.
Yeah.
Looking back, what have those profound experiences taught you about the essential connection between the mind, the body, and energy?
So I think one thing that we need to take into consideration is when we're having so much stress or suppressed trauma in our lives. There's even a book, The Body Keeps Score. There's many books about this, and it explains how when we're having all this suppressed emotion and we're not having the energy moving through our body because we're literally stuck,
Mm,
it puts us in a place of dis-ease, and
yeah.
we end up getting sick. And so it's very important for looking at the body in terms of not only what can I do in terms of, and that's why I developed Soul Hacker. It's not just about nutrition and taking supplements and biohacking. That's looking at our biology, but we have to also look at the soul. It's all connected. We're mind, body, spirit. So you
Yeah.
can't have one without the other. And that's why I like to fuse it all together for people that I work with and for my own personal practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And within your recovery, you brought in practices such as Tai Chi. How did that become central in your healing, and what did that offer you in the traditional approaches that didn't?
Well, I was already a yoga instructor. I worked at some of the best places in New York, like Equinox and Exhale and all these different
Wow.
places. And I love yoga and I feel like it's great for so many reasons. But I still was not healing. And I thought, what else can I do with movement that's going to
Yeah.
start moving the energy because I felt so stuck. And I always loved the idea of martial arts. I had not yet practiced, but
Yeah.
well, my body was so weak. I was really beaten up. I had extreme vertigo. I felt like I had traumatic brain injury. I was very sick. And Tai Chi is an internal form of martial arts and it's much more gentle. So I found a teacher that was able to work with me to at least start me to understand the concept of martial arts without using so much force and
Yeah.
being able to use the internal strength, the chi within the body. And it had built me up from having so much vertigo, instability, not being grounded, fatigue, to strengthening myself to a degree that now I practice Wing Chun Kung Fu for the past 2 years. And it's martial arts has just become a way of life for me. So that was the catalyst. It assisted so much in my healing, but now I love martial arts more than anything in the world. It's my biggest joy.
Would you say that these martial arts, like, someone could actually try you and lose? Like,
It's all a matter of practice. These are disciplines that you need to take time. So yeah, if I was working with someone who or in a situation with someone who never practiced before, yeah, absolutely. But it's a skill set that's developed. I'm in an intermediate phase right now as far as my skill set, but I hope to keep developing and get to a level where I could eventually start teaching.
yeah, that would be awesome. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk about soulhacker.com. What
Yes.
was the inspiration behind creating it, and how does this platform specifically help others restore their energy and find balance?
Well, I found that there are so many biohackers out there. And for people who are not familiar with what biohacking is, it's hacking your biology by doing these things to quantify what's going on in your system, or, jumping into a cold plunge or using a red light or taking a peptide or a specific supplement. And they're not looking at the internal, the spirit, like we were just talking about. So I was like, well, what about hacking the soul? What about going deeper into that? Why are people not focusing on these practices? And
Yeah.
I really wanted to share how that journey has improved my health in such a dramatic way. So Soul Hacker is about integrating the mind, body, spirit, but specifically connecting to the soulful practices like prayer, visualization, meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, working with the energy within, mindfulness. So that is something that I share with people that I work with, in addition to doing what my job is as a nutritionist. I like to combine the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah. It's so clear that you've turned deep pain and illness into purpose and empowerment. For you personally, what does the phrase from pose to power mean?
I think for me, I think of a pose, or having a strength, like I convert that into how I think of martial arts now, learning to use that in such a way. Nothing has made me feel more empowered and in my body than being able to do those martial arts postures and movements. it is
Yeah.
so it is so gratifying and really and makes you feel feminine, but also makes you feel very strong and powerful.
Yeah. And for some people who are not really aware of Lyme disease or the illnesses you experienced, could you give some background to basically just what that experience was like for you and what the road to recovery was like as well?
Yes, well, not everyone will experience Lyme disease. I'm in the Northeast, and I know it's all over, but I also have a place in Florida. And if you talk to people in Miami, they're like, "What? A tick can bite you and make you sick?" Like they don't know what it is. But
Yeah.
I've come to realize, whether you have Lyme disease, whether you have autoimmunity, whether you have hormone imbalance, a thyroid condition, they're all different syndrome. Whether you have a viral situation, they're all different conditions. But the one thing that will help people across the board is to work on your nervous system, meaning that get out of that sympathetic fight or flight trauma
Mm.
mode and go more into the parasympathetic relax, rest, faith mode. And that works across the board in any of these syndromes. So it doesn't matter if you don't know what Lyme disease is. A lot of young people will still experience some of these other syndromes, and this type of work can really help any of them.
Yeah. So for you, at what point were you like, okay, I'm gonna get out of this flight or fight? Flight or fight? Flight or flight?
I tried right away, to be honest. I mean, I was doing all these brain retraining programs online, and it was talking to yourself and trying to reprogram, but there was no movement involved. It was all through words, and I wasn't connecting with it. So I was trying for the longest time, and finally, I really felt a sense of balance through
Yeah.
starting with the Tai Chi and Qigong. Through the movement came the stillness, and that's when I found that connection of, it's not, I always meditated. I always had these practices, but I wasn't incorporating the movement in such a way. And when I found the power in that, um, I knew there was something here that I wanted to share, because it was so powerful for my body. And I've used it with people now, and I see them getting stronger, and I'm just a believer.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to someone who's right now struggling with chronic illness or just a burnout and feels completely disconnected from their power?
They really have to, sometimes you have to be a little bit selfish. There's a mentality that we have, especially in the United States. It's kind of like someone says, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm busy. I'm doing a million things." It's like a badge of honor to say how busy you are and how much you have going
Mm,
on. And truthfully, you need to learn to say no more, and like just honor yourself, and take that time to really get in your body, and focus on your healing. Number one, you have to love yourself enough to really focus on whatever that is that will help you make those shifts. But you have to not be a pleaser. I think too many women are pleasers, and they burn themselves out because they're trying to be there for everyone else. And if
yeah.
you are not well and you don't have health, you can't help other people.
Yeah, I always believe like if your cup is empty, how are you supposed to fill up the cups of others around you?
Right.
So, what would you feel like is a basic practice in your day-to-day life, like something that you do every day, just to make sure that you're in check with your power, in check with your energy, and just to make sure that you're gonna have a good day?
First thing, I wake up and I do say affirmations every morning, and I pray. And then after I do that, I do some Qigong. Like, I literally, before I even check my emails, and I don't look at the news right away or social media, because it'll start my wheels spinning. So I'm
Yeah.
really, I get up, I do my prayers, I get in my practices, and then I'm doing my body tapping, Qigong, and I'm hitting my stomach and waking everything up and tapping my head and getting, working on the anxiety. Like, I get into my body. If I'm not in my body, the rest of the day is not going to unfold correctly. So I think it's
Mm.
so important to really get in a good sense. And also, it helps our communication with people later. It helps our intuition, helps us to be clearer. So I think people should focus on really getting into their body first thing in the morning.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been trying for the past week now to
Mhm.
not look at my phone an hour after waking up. So for that
Yeah.
first hour, I wake up, have my coffee, clean up, do whatever, and then only, because obviously with work and stuff, you need to check the phone. It's not like you can just ignore it. So
I
I've
know.
been trying, and it's been really fulfilling, if I'm being honest. So
It's
yeah,
great if you can do that. I know we all have responsibilities and we're tied to it, but yes, it's super helpful to try to disconnect as much as we possibly can.
yeah, yeah. And if you feel like you're getting to that point where you feel like you're nearing a burnout, what would self-care look like for you in those moments? Like just to get yourself back on track.
Mine is so much about grounding, and when it means
Mm.
connecting to nature. And so when I'm in New York City, there's a park behind where I live. When I'm feeling just like I'm buzzing from all the stimulation, I will get out there, and I take my shoes off. I go in the grass and I just start doing a qigong practice. But if you don't know these practices, you could go just go out in the park, sit outside. When I'm in Miami, I have a beach near me. I go to the beach. I need all of us, I'm not unique in this. We're not connecting to nature in the way that we should be. And everyone has, I mean, I'm in New York City. If I can get to a park in the
Yeah.
middle of concrete jungle, everyone can get to a park or a
Yeah.
beach. That is nature, 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 nature is one of the biggest healers.
As they say on TikTok, touch grass.
Okay, I'm not big on TikTok, but yes, that's very true.
Yeah. That's something that they say a lot. But and for the segment, how do mindfulness, Tai Chi, and Qigong actually
Yes.
help people pose differently in their everyday lives, both physically and energetically?
Well, the poses are very different than anyone has ever seen. When I'm doing them in the park or at the beach, and people are saying, "That's not yoga. What is that?" And you're moving in such a way that you're activating the organs throughout your body through the different energy channels and the acupuncture system in traditional Chinese medicine. Each organ connects to a specific emotion we have in the body. So as we move, we're starting to open up these we open up our emotions through doing these kind of exercises. So that's really helpful. And then yeah, it's so physically it's helping you to do that, and then emotionally you're also getting in touch with that. So for example, if I'm having an issue with maybe a lot of worry, that goes right to the stomach, the
Yeah.
earth element. So I might just sit here and tap my belly, and already I'm starting to maybe move my digestion. So that's the physical part, but also
Yeah.
I'm getting unstuck in my worry, and it's grounding me. So it helps on two different ways.
Yeah, so this is actually my first time hearing about Qigong.
Okay.
So is it basically just like a lot of tapping your body,
It's
waking up
not. It's
part
not
of your
just
body?
tapping. It's there's tapping. There's different movements. There's different movements, and also using sound. So sound. It's similar in yoga, like chanting. The
Yeah.
sounds carry a frequency. So, for example, like if let's say you're having a lot of anger, like some of us feel really angry. So, one of the postures you would do would be a punching, and you almost breathe out of your eyes, and it's for the liver. Liver holds anger. So, it's like a punching, shh, and then you pull back, shh. But it's so you're using your eyes, you're burning out the anger, and you're also using sound. But on a more biological level, making these sounds like the gargling or humming or these sounds that you're doing in yoga, chanting, are all good for the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve helps us when we activate it, helps us also get more into the parasympathetic mode, which is the rest and digest. It's the part of our nervous system that helps to calm us. So there is a lot of relaxation that comes along with this.
Yeah, well, Danielle, this has been such an incredible conversation. Before we wrap up, how can our listeners connect with you and explore your work further?
So they can go to my website, which is soulhacker.com. It's with two Ks, SOULHAKKER.com. And on Instagram, I'm the Soul Hacker, again with two Ks.
Okay, awesome. And if you could leave our audience with just one essential soul hack for finding balance and healing in their own lives, what would it be?
I think I'm going back to the nature. I think we all need to get into nature. So that's one of my biggest soul hacks.
Touch
Yes.
grass, guys. Touch
Touch
grass.
grass. There you go.
Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. You
Thank you so
truly
much.
embody the spirit of From Pose to Power, the transformation of experience into profound empowerment. To our community, stay grounded, stay curious, and remember, power begins with presence. Until next time, bye.